I buried her secret in my best friend's grave. She didn't belong there. That's the sentence that has lived in the back of my throat for years, sitting there like a stone I could never swallow but couldn't spit out either. People think grief fades with time. They say the edges soften, the tears dry, the nights get quiet again. But what they don't tell you is this. Sometimes grief waits. It sits in your house like an uninvited guest, and one day, without warning, it stands up and shows you a face you never knew existed. That day, the day her secret finally looked me in the eye, started like any other. I was in my kitchen, wiping the same countertop I must have wiped 1,000 times before, when the doorbell rang. Just 2 soft chimes, but they cracked something open inside me. It was a Tuesday, the kind of ordinary Tuesday where nothing remarkable should happen. But I remember the breeze through the window changed, cooler, almost like someone had walked across my grave. When I opened the door, a young woman, no more than 23, maybe 24, stood on my porch with a manila envelope clutched to her chest. Her eyes were wide, brown, familiar in a way that tugged at the edges of my memory. "Are you Mrs. Lorna?" she asked, voice trembling just enough to sound rehearsed. "Yes," I said, tightening my cardigan around myself. "Can I help you?" She swallowed. Hard. Like something painful was sliding down her throat. "My name's Maya. I think you knew my mother." I just blinked. Because I didn't know her. Not her face, not her voice, not her name. But grief has a way of sharpening your senses. And something in her cheekbones, the soft slope of her nose, sent a cold ripple through me. Who is your mother?" I asked. And when she said the name, Elise, my knees almost buckled. Elise, my best friend, my sister in all but blood, gone 12 years, buried under white lilies I chose myself. My Elise. But this girl, this young woman, she wasn't part of any memory I had. Elise never had a daughter. She never mentioned pregnancy, adoption, nothing. "What did you say your name was?" I whispered. "Maya," she repeated softer this time. "I believe I'm her child." My breath locked. The world tilted. The breeze died. "My child," she corrected herself, and her heir. Hair. That word hit me harder than the rest, but I was too stunned to question it. Her eyes were glassy, like she'd been preparing for this moment her whole life. She opened the envelope and pulled out a stack of documents, birth certificates, old photographs, and finally, a handwritten letter. She thinks she meant for you to see this," she said, placing the letter into my shaking hands. Elise's handwriting. Sharp loops, slanted lines, the kind of handwriting that once left sticky notes on my fridge. "Don't forget lunch at 2. Stop crying, Lore, he's not worth it. Breathe, just breathe." But this letter? This one wasn't to me. The name at the top read, "To my daughter." My heart dropped so hard it felt like it cracked. I held onto the doorframe to steady myself, feeling my world divide cleanly into before and after. I said to Maya, half to myself, Elise didn't have a child. She would have told me. She told me everything. Maya looked at me with a sadness that didn't belong on someone so young. "I wish that were true. But she didn't tell you, and she didn't tell me either. Not until it was too late." Her voice broke then, one small, fragile crack. Could I come in?" I hesitated, not out of rudeness, not out of suspicion, but because the house felt suddenly too filled with memories of a woman I thought I knew. And inviting this stranger inside felt like letting in a ghost. Still, my hand moved on its own, opening the door wider. "Come in," I said. She stepped over the threshold with a carefulness that reminded me of people entering a church. Her gaze swept the living room, the bookshelf Elise helped me build, the picture frame she gifted me over the years, the throw blanket she bought for my birthday. I saw her eyes soften at every familiar piece of Elise's world. "She was close to her," she said quietly. "We were inseparable," I replied. "She was everything to me." There was silence for a moment, heavy, stretched thin. Then Maya sat on the edge of the sofa, smoothing her skirt with trembling fingers. "Can I tell you my side? Before anything else?" I nodded, because what else could I do? She took a shaky breath. "I grew up with another family, a quiet one, loving enough. I only found out Elise was my mother when I turned 19. They gave me this," she touched the envelope, "and told me Elise asked them to wait until I was old enough." My skin prickled. "What did she tell them?" I asked. "That she couldn't keep me," she whispered. "That it wasn't safe. That when the time was right, I should find you. Find me." That phrase sat heavy in the air, as if Elise had wrapped a piece of herself in secrecy and left it for me to unwrap years later. I wanted to be angry. I wanted to cry. I wanted to scream into the quiet of my living room, but all I could manage was, "Why now?" Maya blinked, startled. "Why find me now? After all these years?" Her fingers tightened around the envelope. "Because I think Elise left something behind, something meant for both of us." My heart thrummed loud in my chest. "What something?" I asked. Her answer came out barely above a whisper. "Her estate." Air whooshed out of my lungs. "What estate?" I choked out. "Elise didn't have anything except the little apartment she left me. And I paid for her funeral. There was no estate." Maya looked at me then with the same eyes that spooked me at the doorway. Brown, familiar, almost haunting. "She did," she said. "She left something. And according to the papers, I'm entitled to half." My world froze. Half. Half of what I've protected for 12 years? Half of what Elise never told me existed? Half of a life I thought I understood? The clock on the wall ticked. Once, twice, like it was counting down to the unraveling of everything I knew. I sat back slowly, my hands cold. "Maya," I whispered, "what exactly did your mother leave behind?" She opened the envelope fully this time, and what she placed on the coffee table changed everything I believed about friendship, loyalty, and the woman I buried with my whole heart 12 years ago. I thought I had already lived through the worst kind of shock a person could survive. But when Maya laid that final document on my coffee table, smooth, heavy paper with an embossed legal seal, my whole body went numb, the kind of numb that feels like silence crawling beneath your skin. She slid it toward me gently, like she was afraid it might crumble if she pushed too hard. "I found this last week," she said, her voice so soft it barely reached me. "At the lawyer's office." A lawyer's office. The words alone felt wrong in my house. Elise never had lawyers. She never had money to fight over or property to protect. She lived simple, worked simple, loved complicated. My throat tightened. "What is this?" I whispered. Her eyes didn't answer. They pleaded. "Please,
Read it." My fingers hovered above the document. They trembled, not from age, but from memory. All those nights Elise and I stayed up talking about our dreams, our heartbreaks, the futures we thought we might build. Never once did she whisper a word about this. I unfolded the paper slowly. They smelled like ink and time. At the top, bold enough to punch the air out of my lungs, were 4 words: "Last will and testament." My breath faltered. Elise didn't have a will. She didn't plan for anything. She didn't even plan for her own birthday half the time. Maya's jaw tightened. "She did," she said. "She just didn't want you to know yet."
Those words felt like a slap. Gentle, apologetic, but a slap all the same. "Why?" I asked, the room starting to tilt again. She lowered her gaze. "Because she said the truth would hurt you, and she wasn't ready to watch that happen." A bitter laugh escaped my lips. Quick, sharp, dead on arrival. "Elise watched me hurt every day for years," I said. "She held my hand through heartbreak, through loss, through everything that nearly broke me. But this she kept secret?" My voice wavered. "Tell me why." Maya inhaled shakily. "Because what she left behind wasn't simple." I flipped the page, and there it was. Line after line of legal language that I couldn't fully make sense of, but one phrase struck me right through the heart. Beneficiary of property and assets held in confidentiality. Property, assets, confidentiality. I felt my pulse thudding in my ears. Elise didn't have property, I said quietly. Her life fit into a 2-bedroom apartment and a shoebox of photographs. Maya pressed her lips together, hesitating. "She owned more than she told you," she whispered. "A lot more." I stared at her. "Where?" I breathed. She pointed to the bottom of the document, a small list of attached items, each labeled with a code and date. One of them made my skin crawl. Property file E13. The E, I realized, didn't stand for estate. It stood for Elise. My voice barely made it past my lips. "Where are these files?" Maya swallowed. "With her lawyer, but I have copies." She reached into her bag and pulled out a thin leather folder, worn, weathered, edges soft with handling. She laid it next to the will. "This," she said, "is what she left for both of us." The room felt colder suddenly, like someone had opened a window I couldn't see. I touched the folder. It felt wrong, heavy, even though it was thin. "Why would she leave this to you?" I asked. Maya didn't answer first. She looked toward the framed picture on my mantel, me and Elise at the lake, arms wrapped around each other, sunburned and laughing. "She didn't just leave it to me," she said. "She left it to you. Half and half." I stared at her. "But why me? I'm not her family." Her eyes lifted. "You were," she said simply. The ache that lived under my ribs flared sharp. "And what about you?" I whispered. She exhaled, long, fragile, defeated. "I think she wanted me to understand who she really was. Not the woman who gave me away, but the woman you knew." Her voice cracked open then. "And I think she wanted you to know who she was when you weren't looking." A tremor ran through me. I opened the folder. Inside were just 2 things. 1, a handwritten note addressed to both of us. 2, a single old house key, heavy, brass, old-fashioned, the kind that belonged to houses built before electricity was common, the kind that had stories buried inside the metal. The note was small, half a page torn from an old journal. My eyes caught the first line. If you're reading this, then I'm gone, and the truth can finally breathe. My lungs seized. I kept reading, my heart in my throat. I couldn't tell either of you while I was alive. Not because I didn't love you, but because I loved you too much. There are things in this world that bury themselves in the dark, and I spent my whole life hiding from them. My hand shook. This key belongs to a place I never wanted to see again, but you must, both of you, together. A place. My stomach dropped. Go to the house. Open the door. Inside is everything I never had the courage to say and everything I should have told you. My vision blurred. She ended it with 4 words that felt carved into my bones. Forgive me. Please try. I lowered the paper slowly, my breath trembling. What house? I whispered. Maya pressed her lips together. The address is written on the back, she murmured. I flipped the page. Sure enough, a faded ink address. One I didn't recognize. One Elise never spoke of. Not once in the 28 years I knew her. When were you planning to go? I asked. Maya's eyes filled with something between fear and determination. Tomorrow, she said. I was hoping you'd come with me. Silence settled between us. Heavy, suffocating. I stared at the key, at the note, at this young woman who looked like Elise in ways that hurt. You want me to go to some abandoned house your mother kept hidden for decades? I asked quietly. Yes. You want me to walk into a place Elise herself was afraid of? Yes. And you want me to do it tomorrow? Her voice broke. I don't want to do it alone. Those 6 words softened something in me. I looked at the clock on the wall. It had been ticking all afternoon. I hadn't heard a single tick. When I finally spoke, my voice surprised me. Steady, almost brave. Where is this house? Maya hesitated. About an hour outside the city, near the old Red Marsh Road. Red Marsh Road. I froze. That wasn't just any place. That road led out toward the forest, the same forest Elise always refused to drive past. A chill crawled up my spine. Maya, what exactly do you think we're going to find there? She looked at me with those brown, familiar, haunted eyes. I don't know. Then with a trembling breath, but whatever it is, Elise didn't want either of us to face it alone. I didn't sleep that night. Not because I wasn't tired. Lord knows grief has a way of wearing you out down to the bone. But because the house felt unsettled. Like it knew something was shifting. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that brass key. Heavy. Old. Waiting. At around 3 a.m, I found myself sitting on the edge of my bed, elbows on my knees, staring at the faint moonlight leaking through the blinds. Elise, I whispered into the dark. What did you do? No answer, of course. Just the hum of the refrigerator down the hall, the tick of the bathroom faucet, the quiet ache of a house that held too many memories. By sunrise, I'd made up my mind. I wasn't letting Maya walk into whatever secrets Elise left behind without me. Whether they were ugly or painful or confusing, they were mine too. So I packed a small bag. Not clothes, not snacks. I didn't know how long we'd be gone or what we were walking into. Just 3 things. My reading glasses, a flashlight, and the picture of me and Elise at the lake, the one Maya had stared at the day before. I didn't know why I took it. Maybe I just needed to bring a piece of her with me. At exactly 10 a.m, Maya's car pulled up outside my house.
a small olive green hatchback that looked like it had better days. She stepped out wearing jeans, a sweater too thin for the weather, and nerves stitched across her face. "You ready?" she asked, her voice tiny in the cool morning air. "Ready as I'll ever be," I said, locking my front door. She held the envelope close to her chest as we walked to the car. I noticed again how young she looked, and how much she carried in her eyes. We drove in silence at first, not the comfortable kind, the thick, heavy kind where words would just get in the way of fear. Red Marsh Road was 40 miles out of town. The farther we drove, the more the world seemed to fall away behind us. Houses thinned, gas stations disappeared. The road stretched long and lonely. "I didn't know it got this empty out here," Maya murmured. "It didn't used to," I said. "Back when I was younger, people lived near the forest edge. Small farms, family houses. What happened to them?" I stared at the trees. "Life," I said simply. But in truth, something about the land always felt wrong to me. An uneasiness you couldn't explain without sounding foolish. We turned onto Red Marsh Road, and the world changed. Tall pines crowded the roadside, leaning inward like they were listening. The sunlight dimmed even though the sky was clear, the way light dims inside a dream. Maya slowed the car. "You okay?" she asked. I nodded, though my stomach was tightening. A mile in, she pointed ahead. I think that's it." And through a thicket of trees, I saw it. A house. Not run down or abandoned yet I expected. Just old. A wooden 2-story farmhouse with a wrapped porch sagging slightly, shuttered windows, faded paint that once might have been blue. It looked asleep, but not dead. Maya parked the car at the end of the gravel driveway. We sat there for a long moment, neither of us moving. "It looks," she whispered. "Like it's been waiting," I said. She swallowed hard. Together we stepped out. The air smelled of damp wood, pine, and something faintly metallic. I didn't like that. The porch creaked under our weight, a long, mournful sound that echoed through the quiet, as though we were disturbing something. The front door was thick oak, heavy, with a rusted lock. Maya held out the key. "You should do it," she said. My hand trembled as I took the old brass. It felt cold, colder than it should have been. I slid it into the lock. It fit perfectly. When I turned it, the click echoed like a gunshot. The door swung inward with a long, low groan. Inside was darkness. Not pitch black, but a heavy, stale kind of darkness that had texture, like it had settled in layers over the years. We stepped in. The air was cooler, still. A living room stretched before us, covered furniture, dusty shelves, wallpaper peeling in soft curls. Everything was quiet, untouched, like the house had paused itself. "Someone lived here," Maya whispered. "Not recently," I murmured, but something in my bones felt wrong. This house, it wasn't just lived in once. It had been abandoned with intention. I turned slowly, taking in the space. Old photographs lined the mantel, faces I didn't recognize. A man and woman from another era, a little girl with straight brown hair, a boy holding a wooden toy. None of them were Elise. "Maybe it belonged to her family," Maya said. I shook my head. "Elise was born in Louisiana, not here. Then whose house is this?" I didn't know, but the question curled cold in my gut.
We moved deeper inside, a long hallway, closed doors, floors that creaked under every hesitant step. Maya paused at one door, the only one with no dust on the handle. "You see that?" she whispered. My throat tightened. "Open it," I said, though fear prickled at my spine. She turned the knob. The door opened to reveal a small room, sparse, dimly lit by a sliver of sunlight through a cracked shutter, and on the center of the floor was a box, wooden, dark, about the size of a shoebox, with a single piece of paper taped to the top. Maya's breath hitched. She knelt down, peeled it off, and handed it to me, Elise's handwriting again, sharper this time, almost frantic. "Do not open alone." My heart dropped into my stomach. "What does that mean?" Maya whispered, voice trembling. I stared at the box, my pulse pounding in my ears. "I don't know. But whatever's inside, Elise didn't want one person facing it." Maya swallowed. "So we open it together?" I took a deep breath, and the floorboard behind us creaked. Not from us, not from settling, but from something moving.
The floorboard behind us creaked. Not a soft settling sound. No, this was sharper, intentional, like weight shifting. I froze mid-breath. Maya's head snapped toward the hallway, eyes widening just enough for me to see the fear catch. "You heard that, right?" she whispered. "I did," I said, voice low, careful. We stood very still, listening. The house went silent again. Too silent. Old houses make noise, I told myself. Wood expands, air moves. But that sound, it felt different. Like someone had been standing close behind us and stepped back when we turned. Maya moved closer until her shoulder brushed mine. "Maybe we shouldn't be here," she murmured. "And yet, here we are," I whispered back. I didn't know which scared me more, the noise, the box, or the feeling that Elise had led us here on purpose, like a woman reaching from her grave to push open doors she never dared touch while alive. But running wouldn't solve anything. I steadied myself. "Let's open it," I said. Maya's eyes flicked to the boxed warning note, "Do not open alone." "What if it's something dangerous?" she asked. "Then we face it together," I replied. She nodded, knees trembling as she lowered herself to the floor. I knelt beside her, both of us mirroring each other's breath. Maya touched the lid lightly. "You ready?" she asked. "No," I admitted. "Open it anyway." She lifted the lid. A soft click echoed inside the hollow room. We leaned over the box and stared. Inside were 4 items. 1, a thick envelope, addressed to me. 2, a folded legal document. 3, a ring, a man's signet ring, heavy, gold. And 4, a small Polaroid photograph of Elise. Pregnant. My hand flew to my mouth. The world tilted. My breath rattled out in a broken whisper. "Elise, you were pregnant?" My heart thudded painfully. "Why didn't you tell me?" Maya's fingers hovered over the photo, not touching it, just absorbing it with her eyes. "That's her," she said, voice catching. "That's my mother." And there was Elise, younger, softer, standing near a lake with her hand resting protectively over a swollen belly. Someone else was taking the picture, a shadowy figure visible in the frame's edge. But she was smiling, a smile I'd never seen before. A secret smile. Quiet,
hidden, tender. She looks happy, Maya whispered. She did, happier than I'd ever seen her in all the years we'd been inseparable. I swallowed hard. Let's read the envelope addressed to you, Maya said softly. My name was written in thick black ink. Lorna. All caps, heavy strokes, like she wrote it through tears. My fingers trembled as I opened it. There were several pages inside. I pulled out the first one. Her handwriting wobbled, ink smudged in places. Lorna, if you're reading this, I'm gone. And I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. My breath hitched. I read on. I didn't tell you because I knew the truth would ruin everything you thought you knew about me, about us, about the life we shared. The words blurred for a moment, my eyes hot and stinging. I forced myself to keep going. Maya is my daughter, but she was never meant to be hidden. She was meant to be protected. Protected. The word felt heavy. Protected from what? Or who? Maya leaned closer, gripping my arm as I turned the page. If she's with you, then you must take her to the house on Red Marsh. Not before, not alone. Because the truth is not safe unless shared. I swallowed. My hand shook so badly the letter brushed against my knees. Maya whispered, "Keep going." I did. The father, he can't find her. He must never find her. The air in the room shifted, tense, electric. Maya's fingers went cold around my wrist. She never told me anything about him. I kept reading.
His name is Aaron Keller. If you find anything with that name, leave immediately. He is dangerous. He is the reason I left my child with another family. And he is the reason I hid everything from you. Dangerous. The word crawled under my skin like ice. I turned the next page. I didn't know he would follow me. I didn't know he would still want control over the inheritance. Inheritance? A chill went through me. If you're reading this, it means Maya is grown. It means she's old enough to learn the truth. But she must not face it alone. And neither must you. I lowered the letter. My breath came in slow, uneven waves. The room felt smaller, the walls tighter, the quiet sharper. Aaron Keller. Maya repeated the name like a curse she didn't understand. Who is he? Why was he dangerous? I didn't know. But deep inside my ribcage, something ancient and instinctive told me this man, whoever he was, wanted something from Elise. Something she died trying to hide. And Maya was a piece of that secret. Let's check the legal document, I whispered. Maya lifted it carefully. It was the copy of a property deed, registered 15 years ago, under the name Elise Keller. My mouth dropped open. My heart slammed into my ribs. Keller, Maya whispered. She took his name? I shook my head, eyes scanning the document. I never told me she married him. She never mentioned a husband. Nothing. But there it was, black and white. Elise Keller. My best friend had lived a whole other life, a life she hid from me, from everyone, before starting the life I knew her in. A second identity. A second story. A second truth. I turned the deed around. Another name was listed in the corner, in the witness section. And this name made my blood stop cold. Aaron Keller Jr. My voice cracked. Maya. I handed her the paper. Her eyes widened. Her bottom lip trembled. She looked up at me, face pale. I had a brother? She whispered. We stared at each other. Two women tied to the same ghost, the same secrets,
The same unraveling threads. Where is he? Why didn't he come looking for her too? Why only me? Before I could answer, before I could even breathe, a soft tap echoed from the hallway. Clear. Sharp. Close. We both jerked toward the sound. The second tap came quicker, like knuckles brushing wood. Tap, tap, tap. Maya grabbed my hand. Lorna, someone's in the house. My heart pounded against my ribs hard enough to hurt. I rose slowly, pulling Maya up with me. Stay behind me, I whispered. We stepped into the hallway. The air felt colder, heavier. Someone had moved recently. Dust disturbed, a footprint too fresh. We reached the end of the corridor. I held my breath and pushed open the door. The room was empty, but on the floor, right in the middle of the wooden boards, was a small object. A coin. No, not a coin. A pendant. A circular silver pendant with initials engraved on it. A.K. My stomach dropped. Maya pressed closer to me. That's his. It has to be. I swallowed hard. We need to leave, I said. Not later, not after thinking, not after talking. Now. Maya nodded, clutching the envelope against her chest. But as we turned toward the front door, we heard it. A slow, deliberate sound from the back of the house. A footstep, then another. Heavy, measured, coming closer. I didn't sleep that night. Not because I wasn't tired, but because every time I closed my eyes, I heard that message again. Aap hi bata de, hum dono kisko choose kare. You tell us, who should we choose? Those words from the apartment staff kept twisting inside my chest like a knife that refused to be pulled out. By 6 a.m., I was sitting on the edge of my bed, arms wrapped around my waist, rocking slightly, the way children do when they try to soothe themselves. The early light was creeping in through the blinds, painting thin gold lines across the floor. My heart felt like a brick inside my chest, heavy, immovable, suffocating. I wasn't crying anymore. Even tears get tired. I just felt hollow. But the thing about pain is that it doesn't care if you're ready. When it comes, it takes what it wants. And at 6:17 a.m., my phone started ringing again. Not a normal ring, a WhatsApp voice call. And the name glowing on the screen froze every part of me. Amir calling. My ex. The man who shattered me. The man who walked away like our years meant nothing. My throat closed instantly. I stared at the phone, my hand hovering over it, like touching it would burn me. For a moment, I thought it was a mistake. Maybe he tapped my number accidentally. Maybe it was pocket dial. But then it rang again. And this time, I answered. I didn't say hello. I didn't greet him. I just lifted the phone to my ear, heart pounding so hard it echoed inside my head. He spoke first. His voice was tired, exhausted in a way I had never heard before. Can we talk? Just those 3 words. And suddenly, I wasn't a grown, self-respecting woman sitting on her bed. I was a small, trembling version of myself, fighting between anger and longing. About what? I said. There was a long silence. I could hear him breathe, slow, shaky, like he was gathering courage, like he was afraid. He saw your sister yesterday. My stomach twisted, every nerve in my body tensed. Because if he saw her, and the building had only 2 people trying to claim that apartment, my breath hitched, my mind raced. But he continued before I could speak. She came to see me, he said quietly, crying, saying you kicked her out, that she had nowhere to go. A thick wave of heat flushed through me. Anger, betrayal, disbelief. She what? She went to him? Again? Why? I swallowed, forcing my voice to stay steady. And what did you do? I asked. He hesitated. I let her in. Something inside me cracked. It was small, barely audible, but I felt it. Of course you did, I whispered. But he wasn't done. She told me everything, he continued softly. Everything about what happened between us, everything she did, everything I did. She said she wanted to make it right. I almost laughed. Wanted to make it right? Now? After everything? A cold sadness settled into my bones. But then his voice changed. Deeper. Strained. Almost shaking.
She told me she was pregnant. My blood ran cold. My fingers tightened around the phone. My breath completely stopped. What? I whispered. He inhaled sharply. She said she might be carrying my child. Pregnant. My sister. With the man who destroyed me. Every piece of air in my lungs vanished. I couldn't speak. I couldn't move. All I could hear was the slow, rhythmic pounding of my heart, each beat louder, harder, like it was trying to escape my ribcage. He kept talking. I didn't believe her at first. I still don't know if it's true, but she looked desperate, scared, and she asked me to help her talk to you. I closed my eyes tightly. Of course she did. Of course she was using him, or using me, or using whatever part of the story she could to twist to stay close to that apartment, that life, that opportunity. She had always been a survivor, a strategist, a woman who could turn tears into weapons. But pregnancy? That wasn't just strategy. That was war. My voice came out barely audible. What exactly do you want from me, Amir? He exhaled long, like he'd been holding his breath. I want honesty, he said. I want to know if she's lying. I want to know the truth about what happened. I want to know if you're okay. The last sentence hit me harder than it should have, because it had been months of silence, months of pretending we never shared anything, and now he wanted to know if I was okay? I let out a bitter laugh. You want honesty. From me? I could almost hear him flinch through the phone. Then I said the words I never imagined would come out of my mouth. She's not pregnant. He didn't speak. I continued. She told you that because she needed you. She told you because she knows you're soft-hearted, because she knows you won't leave her if she convinces you she's carrying your child. Another long silence. Then he whispered, So she lied? I said, for survival. Voice flat. For manipulation. For the apartment. For the attention. Maybe even for revenge. I took a breath. One that felt like swallowing broken glass. And one thing she didn't lie about is this. She betrayed me. And so did you. He inhaled sharply, a short, wounded sound. I didn't wait for him to respond. I don't want anything from either of you. I said quietly. Not an apology, not closure, not explanations, nothing. But, he started. I cut him off. I hope both of you get exactly what you deserve. And then, with a calmness that surprised even me, I ended the call.
My hand was shaking as I placed the phone beside me. I felt my chest rise, fall, rise again, slow, heavy breaths. And right then, in that moment of bitter clarity, I knew something with absolute certainty. If my sister was capable of dragging him back into our lives with a lie this big, her war wasn't over. It was just beginning.
The call with Amir didn't break me. It emptied me. There's a difference. Breaking hurts. Emptiness is quiet. The kind of quiet that settles in your chest like dust after a storm. Heavy, dull, and choking. I sat on the edge of my bed long after the call ended, staring at the wall, unable to move, unable to think. My mind kept circling the same thought. She lied about being pregnant. She went to him. She tried to pull him back. She tried to make him choose her. My own sister. After everything I had done for her. But pain has a strange way of preparing you. It hurts you enough to make you numb, and makes you numb enough to face the next blow. And the next blow came sooner than I expected. Around 11:45 a.m., I heard the front door unlock. Slowly, carefully. Not the usual confident click she used when she walked in with shopping bags or stories about her day. This was different. This was cautious, guilty, afraid. I didn't move. I didn't even turn my head. I just listened as her footsteps crossed the hall, pausing outside my room, hesitating, testing the silence. Then she knocked, softly, twice. Api? That one word, broken, trembling, pulled something tight inside my chest. I didn't answer. She waited a second and then opened the door just enough to peek inside. Her eyes were swollen. Her lip trembled. Her hands shook. But I didn't get up. I didn't rush to her. I didn't comfort her the way I always had. I just stared. She stepped inside fully and closed the door behind her. Api, please, listen. I didn't speak. She swallowed hard and a tear slid down her cheek. I know you talked to him. Her voice cracked on the last word. He told me you called me a liar. I didn't lie, I said quietly. Her eyes flashed. Hurt or anger, I couldn't tell. You think I'm making the pregnancy up? I looked at her long and hard. You want the truth? I asked. She nodded desperately. The air in the room felt thick enough to choke on. You're not pregnant, I said calmly. You lied to him. Her lower lip quivered. No, I cut her off. You didn't just lie to him. You played him. You used him. You dragged him back into our lives because you weren't getting what you wanted. She flinched like I slapped her. No, Api. Stop calling me that, I said sharply. Her breath hitched. Pain shot through her eyes, but I kept going. I had to. For the first time, this wasn't about her feelings. It was about mine. I betrayed you, I said. Not once, but again, and again, and again. Her tears kept falling. Her voice shook like she was freezing. I made a mistake. I know I did. I lost myself. I got scared. I didn't know what to do. But Api, you're all I have. I stayed silent. Her face twisted with desperation. Please, Api, don't leave me. She cried. I'm sorry. I'll do anything to fix this. I didn't know which part hurt more, her apology or the fact that the first time she apologized was only after her plans fell apart. When I didn't respond,
She stepped closer, reaching out to touch my hand. I moved my hand away. She froze, stunned, wounded. "Do you even understand?" I asked quietly. "What you've done?" She covered her face, sobbing. I let her cry. For once, I didn't rush to soothe her. I didn't fold her into my arms. I didn't absorb her guilt or take responsibility for her decisions. I let her feel the weight. After a long time, when her sobs softened, she said, "Please, Abby, just tell me what to do. I'll do anything to fix this." I looked at her with a steadiness I didn't know I had in me. "You can start," I said, "by telling me the truth." She froze. I leaned forward slightly. "The real truth. Not the pretty version. Not the one that gets sympathy. Not the one that gets you what you want." Her breathing became uneven. I narrowed my eyes. "Tell me," I said, "why you went to him." Her hands trembled violently. There was a long silence, a painful, suffocating one. Then she looked directly at me, and for the first time since she walked in, her expression changed. Not sad, not guilty, not scared, but something darker, something real. She said slowly, "I went because I needed him to choose me." The room went dead silent. I felt something cold run through my veins. Choose her? Before I could swallow that revelation, she spoke again, this time with a strange, twisted honesty. "And yes, I lied. I thought if he believed I was pregnant, he would protect me, stay with me, not leave me like he left you." My chest tightened painfully. "You think this is about love?" I asked, stunned. "No," she said quietly. "It's about losing." Her eyes filled with a bitter, broken disappointment. "I didn't want to lose to you again." The word lose hit me like a slap. Lose? To me? We were sisters, not opponents. But somewhere along the way, she had turned our entire relationship into a competition I didn't even know I was a part of. That's when it hit me. This wasn't about Amir. This wasn't about pregnancy. This wasn't even about the apartment. This was about her insecurities, her jealousy, her need to be chosen, her fear of being second, her obsession with winning, even if it meant destroying me in the process. I felt my throat tighten. "I didn't lose to you," I said softly. "You lost yourself." For the first time, she looked ashamed. Her shoulders slumped. Her tears started again, silently this time. "Appy, I'm begging you. Please don't give up on me." I stood. She looked up, hopeful, but I walked past her toward the door. I didn't yell. I didn't threaten. I didn't punish. I just opened the door and said, "I'm not giving up on you, but I am stepping away from you." She went pale. "Appy, please," I said softly. "For the first time in your life, you're going to face the results of your actions without me cleaning up the mess." Her tears streamed down her face. Her voice cracked in half. Where will I go?" Her fear was real, raw, childlike. But I didn't rescue her. I simply said, "That's something you should have thought about before choosing war with me." And then, for the first time in my life, I closed the door on my sister. I didn't sleep that night either. Or maybe I did for an hour or two, but it was a restless kind of sleep. The kind where dreams claw at your chest and whisper words you hope aren't real.
By morning, I had made a decision the apartment was mine, and I would fight to protect it no matter what it cost. I arrived at the leasing office around 9 a.m. The air was crisp, carrying the faint smell of freshly baked bread from the cafe across the street. The lobby was quiet, almost suspiciously so, and I could feel my heartbeat echoing in my ears. I didn't expect her to be there, but of course, she was. Maya sat on the corner chair, the envelope clutched tightly to her chest. Her hair fell in a loose wave.
No, she didn't leave it for division. She left it for protection, for someone who would honor her memory, not someone who would fight over it, manipulate people, and try to use it as leverage. Maya's face paled. Her lips trembled. But her voice was steady when she said, "Lorna, I didn't manipulate anyone. I just wanted what's mine, what she made for me. Don't I deserve that?" I swallowed hard. The words burned in my chest. "Deserve?" I echoed, voice low. "You think this is about deserving? This is about truth, about integrity, about knowing the difference between taking what's yours and taking what's been left for someone else. Elise left it to me to protect, not to fight over." She took a sharp breath. "You're stopping me?" I nodded slowly. "I am." And then the absurd, terrible thing happened. She reached into her bag and slammed down another envelope, smaller, more worn. "This," she said, her voice sharp, almost accusing, "is something Elise left for me. You don't get it, Lorna. You don't understand. She wanted me to have it when the time came, and the time is now." The office clerk looked at the envelope, then back at us. "Is this legal?" he asked, uncertain. I ignored him. I focused on the girl who once clung to me like a shadow. I took a step forward. "Let me see it," I said. She hesitated, but she handed it over. Inside was a single folded piece of paper, yellowed at the edges. I recognized Elise's handwriting immediately, precise, careful loops. And then my stomach dropped. It wasn't just a letter. It was a will, a separate codicil that I hadn't known existed, one that granted Maya a percentage of something else, something I didn't even know Elise owned. My hand shook as I read through it. A small apartment building, rental income, and savings account. She had hidden it all, even from me, even from the world. I looked up at Maya. Her eyes were bright, expectant, hopeful, defiant. She said softly, "You see? Elise wanted me to have this." And in that moment, I understood something crucial. She wasn't lying about everything. She wasn't manipulative in the ways I had thought entirely. She had been hidden, protected, like Elise had done for her entire childhood. But she had been reckless, too. And now she wanted me to approve of it. I closed the envelope gently, carefully, and looked her in the eyes. "Elise protected you," I said, voice steady, "but you made choices that could have destroyed her memory. You brought him back. You lied. You forced me into a corner. That is not protection. That is chaos." Her face fell. She looked almost guilty. I didn't mean it to be chaos," she whispered. I needed her. Needed what she left me. And now," I asked, "do you need me?" She nodded slowly. Tears welled up in her eyes. "Please," she said softly. "Please, please help me. Don't leave me." I exhaled slow and deliberate. This was the crossroads, the moment that would decide everything. I thought of Elise, of the woman who had trusted me with her life, her memories, her final legacy. I thought of the girl standing before me, broken, scared, and yet still Elise's blood running through her veins. I knew what I had to do. "Fine,"
I said finally, my voice low but firm. We'll do this. Together. But on my terms. You follow my lead. No more lies. No more manipulation. We honor Elise. Or we honor nothing. She nodded quickly, almost relieved. Yes, I understand. I reached out and took her hand, not because I trusted her completely, but because we were bound by something stronger than anger or betrayal. We were bound by Elise. And for the first time since this entire ordeal began, I felt a flicker of hope. The office clerk cleared his throat. Do you, want to proceed with the paperwork? I glanced at Maya, and she looked back at me with a vulnerability I had never allowed myself to notice before. Yes, I said finally. Yes, we will proceed. But we do it properly, for Elise, for both of us. And as we signed the document side by side, I realized something almost terrifying. I wasn't just protecting an apartment anymore. I was protecting a future that included her, a future that included the daughter I never knew existed. And for the first time in years, I felt like we might survive this together. After we signed the paperwork, the office clerk gave us polite smiles and wished us luck. But luck had nothing to do with what I felt in that moment. I felt exhaustion settle into my bones like wet cement. I felt grief, not the sharp, burning kind from the past, but the slow, heavy kind that creeps in after years of betrayal, lies, and secrets finally being exposed. Maya stayed quiet beside me. Her fingers brushed mine occasionally, tentative, as if she weren't sure if I would pull away. I didn't. We left the office together. Outside, the sun was warm on my skin, but the light felt softer somehow, like it had been filtered through years of sadness and finally allowed to shine. We walked in silence for a few blocks, the city waking up around us. The smell of coffee and freshly baked bread floated in the air. Finally, Maya spoke. I never wanted to hurt you, she said quietly. I looked at her, really looked at her, and I believed her. Not because she was perfect, not because the lies and manipulation didn't exist, but because I had learned something crucial over the last 12 years. People are complicated, even the ones we love the most. I know, I said softly, but you did hurt me, and you made choices that could have destroyed everything I believed in. Her head hung low. I didn't know how to. I didn't know how to be her daughter. I didn't know how to be anyone's daughter. I just wanted a place in her world. I paused, thinking of Elise, of her soft laugh, the way she would wipe my tears and tell me I was stronger than I realized, of all the little moments we had shared, coffee in the kitchen, walks through the park, late-night talks about boys, heartbreak, and life. I said finally, she did leave you a place. You just needed to learn how to take it without tearing everyone apart. Her gaze lifted. Her eyes glistened with tears, not just guilt, but something like relief. We walked the rest of the way home in quiet companionship, and I realized something profound. The apartment, the inheritance, the money, none of that mattered as much as the bond we were rebuilding. For the first time, Maya wasn't Elise's secret anymore. She was her own person. Over the next few weeks, we worked together to sort out the financial details. I explained every step, every account, every document. And for the first time, she didn't question or manipulate. She listened. She learned. She showed respect. Not just for me, but for the woman who gave her life and left her legacy. I could see her growing into a version of herself I hadn't expected. Strong, careful, thoughtful. And slowly, I felt my anger and resentment soften.
Not disappear. It doesn't vanish that easily, but soften, enough to make room for something I had almost forgotten. Hope. One evening, a month after the confrontation at the leasing office, we sat on the small balcony of Elise's apartment. The city lights twinkled below us, and the faint hum of traffic mixed with the smell of rain-soaked pavement. "I don't want to mess up again," Maya said quietly, staring at her hands. I smiled softly. "You won't," I said. "You've learned a lot. And Elise, she trusted me to guide you, and I will. But only if you're willing to follow that guidance, not just chase what you think you deserve." She nodded slowly. And in that moment, I realized something else. The pain, the lies, the betrayal, it had all been a crucible. It had burned away the illusions, the fear, the manipulation, and what remained was something solid, something real. We had survived. Together. Over the next year, our lives shifted in ways I hadn't imagined possible. Maya found her footing. She began working at a nonprofit, helping young women who were struggling with family issues, much like she had been. She thrived on
Responsibility, showing an empathy I hadn't seen in her during the months of chaos. And I learned how to step back without stepping away. I learned that love isn't about control, and grief doesn't have to chain you forever. I learned that Elise's legacy wasn't just the apartment or the money. It was the people she trusted, the bonds she nurtured, and the lessons she left behind. One afternoon, as we sat together sorting through old photos of Elise, Maya looked up at me and said something that stopped me in my tracks. "AP, thank you for letting me stay, for letting me be part of this life." I reached over and squeezed her hand gently. "You don't have to thank me," I said softly. "You just have to promise me one thing." "What?" she asked. "That you will live your life with honesty, with courage, and with love. Don't hide, don't manipulate, don't bury secrets, and never let grief or anger control you. Promise me that." Her eyes shimmered with tears. "I promise," she whispered. And for the first time in 12 years, I felt peace. Peace for Elise, peace for Maya, and peace for myself. I buried her secret in my heart, the one Elise had carried for years, but I didn't let it consume me anymore. She didn't belong in grief, in deception, or in manipulation. She belonged in memory, in love, and in the lessons she left behind. And as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the city gold and pink, I realized something fundamental. Life doesn't always go according to plan. People betray, people lie, people hurt. But redemption is possible. Forgiveness is possible. Healing is possible. Even after a secret has been buried for 12 years. And maybe, just maybe, that's enough. I still think about Elise every day. I still remember her laugh, her touch, the way she could make even the heaviest moments feel lighter. And now I see her in Maya, the strength, the resilience, the determination. Would you have had the courage to face betrayal like that? To forgive someone who hurt you so deeply, but still honor the bond you shared? If you've ever had to choose between anger and love, betrayal and loyalty, secrets and truth, maybe you understand exactly what I mean. 12 years, 12 long, quiet, painful years of holding grief like a stone in my chest. 12 years of protecting Elise's memory, her apartment, her legacy. And 12 years of believing I understood everything about the woman I loved like a sister. And then,
I didn't. Sometimes life gives us secrets we're not ready for. Sometimes the people we trust most have hidden lives, hidden pains, hidden truths. And when those truths finally surface, they shake the very foundation of everything we thought we knew. I buried Elise's secret in my heart, yes, but I didn't let it destroy me anymore. I faced betrayal. I faced lies. I faced the fear of losing someone I didn't even know existed. And somehow, in the quiet aftermath, I found peace. Maya and I still have a long road ahead, but we walk it together now, not as perfect sisters, not as flawless friends, but as two people bound by love, loss, and the woman who taught us both how to survive. So, I want to ask you, if someone you trusted betrayed you, or a secret from the past came back to challenge everything you knew, what would you do? Could you find it in your heart to forgive, to rebuild, to heal? I'll leave that with you. And if you've ever felt grief, betrayal, or the weight of a secret like mine, I hope Elise's story and ours reminds you that even in the darkest moments, redemption and love are possible. Would you have done what I did? Tell me in the comments. I'd love to hear your story.